G'day geeks, my name is Chris, and in this video we've got more Superman stuff to look at. So the whole world is in a Superman mood, which makes me very happy because of the new James Gunn film, which I did enjoy for the most part, but I'll save my thoughts on the film till the very end. But we have a whole bunch of Superman stuff to look at. We've got 3 action figures, we've got a colouring book, and we've got some very cute Fisher-Price Little People Superman focused goodies. So there's a lot of Superman stuff to get through. So let's get through it. Here we have 2 Superman related action figures from McFarlane Toys. So Todd McFarlane obviously is the creator of Spawn, and he's been pumping out some pretty awesome action figures for the last couple of decades. So here you'll see these are gold label, and gold label under the McFarlane Toys banner basically means that they're variants of existing figures, basically just similar molds but different paint jobs. So here we have the classic looking Bizarro, clone of Superman. You can tell with the backward S and the pasty skin. And here we have the Cyborg Superman, which is the red and black variant. So there's also the more traditional red and yellow and blue Superman costume, but this is a repaint. So this is the red and black variant, which he wore during the Sinestro Corps War and Revenge of the Green Lantern, I believe, Superman storyline in the early 2000s and beyond comics. So yes, a couple of pretty cool Superman figures, Superman related figures I saw at JB Hi-Fi, so I had to grab these. Let's open them up. A very classic Bizarro here. So as you can see, the back of the box is basically a picture of the kind of 1950s 1960s kind of Bizarro version, and back in those days he was a bit more of a silly clone. You know, he speaks in backwards, so Bizarro am sad means that he's happy, that kind of thing. He's had quite a few different looks over the decades, but it's always the backward S, the messed up hair, and the kind of pasty grey and white skin. So yeah, this is a earlier body, so it's very similar sculpt from McFarlane Toys, just a repaint of one of their first Superman figures. You can tell because it's got the lines on the costume, just a tad more detail. One of the wonderful things is it's got a wired cape, which is awesome, so you can really get him into some shambling kind of zombie-like poses, I guess. So there's a wire running down both sides, so you can make it all windswept and interesting. And yeah, the colours really pop, all that kind of stuff. So Bizarro is such a classic Superman villain, so it's good to see a pretty cool representation of him here. And he comes with a couple of different accessories, namely some hands. So the hands just pop out, they're kind of flying hands. He's got he's got one fist and like a trigger kind of figure hand, so they just pop out, and the other ones pop in, which is easy enough. As all McFarlane Toys figures do, comes with a action figure base, so the peg just fits on the holes on his feet. And also, as all McFarlane Toys figures do, he comes with a little trading card of sorts, and this just shows you a bio of the character if you're not familiar with who the Bizarro is, and the same picture on the back of the box. So I think this was $45 from JB Hi-Fi here in Australia. I was umming and ahhing, but there was one left on the shelf, so very glad to grab Bizarro. Also very happy to see that they've given him another accessory, which is very character specific. So this is something that the earlier Bizarro interpretations of the Bizarro character had, which was basically this big chunk of stone wrapped around like a huge necklace, which says Bizarro #1, and that kind of adds to his confidence. And he kind of had this frenemy status with Superman in those early days, where he's just a bit of a mischief kind of character. But yes, very happy with the character. Glad they put the backwards S on the cape as well as the front. As I said, the colours really pop. Very poseable in that 7-inch figure style, and he's going to look awesome with the rest of the Superman figures on the shelf. A much more recent character. In fact, the bio on the back says that he debuted in 1990, and I believe that I've actually got this particular issue, which is cool. So Cyborg Superman has always been one of my favourite Superman villains, and this also, like Bizarro, he's had quite a few different looks over the years. You'll notice that he doesn't have all the Green Lantern rings on his hand like he does on the trading card or the back, but as I said, this is a gold label, so effectively just a reprint of an existing figure, which is more traditional blue and red and yellow of the Superman costume. So this is a variation of that. But yeah, the silver really pops. Wonderful wired cape again. So it's got the wire in the back. And yes, they've really put in a lot of effort with all the paint. It's pretty interesting that there's a bit of a hole in his leg there. So you can see a nice touch. The detail of all the kind of robotic parts goes all the way around. That should be painted there, that little oval on his right thigh, and as should the underarm, but that's okay. We can't expect too much for a repaint. But yes, pretty cool. Very detailed, as is McFarlane Toys' way. And yes, certainly looks very menacing indeed. He doesn't come with a ton of accessories. In fact, he just comes with 2 additional hands. But the hands are pretty awesome. So he's got the fist, cyborg, robotic fist there, and the open hand. And this one is a more human fist. And we've got the pointing finger, so that's pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of Terminator 2 or something, like the endoskeleton. But there we go. That is Hank Henshaw, aka Cyborg Superman, when he was donning the red and black costume from his time in that suit in the pages of DC Comics. So very happy to grab both of these from JB Hi-Fi, McFarlane Toys, and yes, very happy that I've actually got some villains on the shelf. Just for a bit of comparison, obviously this is the new one, and this is the one from DC Direct a couple of years ago. So a skinnier build, made by a different company, same character, different costume. You can see the cyborg parts, and yeah, slightly different articulation. So this is what this is the couple of different looks from Hank Henshaw, aka Cyborg Superman. So McFarlane Toys on the left, and this is the older version of DC Direct on the right. Sticking with the Superman theme, or Superboy theme, this is also tied into the same storyline that the Cyborg Superman had his most famous story in, which is the death and return of Superman from the early to mid 1990s in the pages of DC Comics. This is a Superboy who was a clone of Superman, much like Bizarro, but a better version, and also a clone of Lex Luthor. Spoiler alert. So yes, this is his classic costume when he appeared in the mid 90s pages. There was some controversy when this figure was first revealed because he doesn't have his familiar jacket and sunglasses, his John Lennon circular sunglasses, part of his signature look. He doesn't come with either of those, but that's okay because he didn't always have the jacket and sunnies on in the pages of those early 90s comics. So yes, Superboy here is a pretty cool character, Connor Kent, and as you can see, the familiar colour scheme, but very 90s with the different belts and pouches and all that kind of stuff. So this is part of McFarlane Toys Page Punches line, which comes in a couple of different scales, but this is the 6-7 inch line, which comes with a trading card, and also, as you can see there, a comic book. So this comes with the first issue, a reprint of the first issue of Superboy in his solo series, which is awesome, and I followed that for a couple of years. So you get a figure, you get a comic book. Let's open it up, see what Superboy is all about. It's a pretty faithful representation of Connor Kent. He comes with the figure himself, obviously, the display base, so you can fit him in to stand, the little peg hole which goes in his foot, which all the McFarlane Toys figures come with, as we've previously seen. And I'm happy to see that DC are returning to their classic bullet logo, which is awesome. Comes with a couple of extra hands and a trading card, which shows his details and background and first appearance on the back. And he comes with the comic and a couple of extra hands, as I said. And yeah, he's a pretty cool looking figure. So he's hitting all those marks that we expect from a classic 90s Superboy. Comes with the traditional McFarlane Toys articulation. So we've got double jointed elbows and knees, and the hands swivel, waist swivel, and yeah, ankle pivot as well. So pretty articulated. I think normally the McFarlane Toys are about 30 points of articulation. He should probably be a bit shorter if we bring in his one of his evil adversaries, the Cyborg Superman that we just looked at. He probably should be a bit shorter. He is a teenager after all. But I'm happy to see that they've got the more thinner buck. You know, he's not meant to be all muscle bound and stuff. He's still a teenager clone developing. But yes, nice details with the belt, all that kind of stuff. The lovely gloves and wonderful face portrait with the undercut and the earring and a pretty cool expression. They got the hair cut right as well. So yeah, I've been after a Superboy figure for quite some time. One that shows the 90s version of the character and his lovely classic costume, and this certainly fits the bill. I mean, I know you can get a leather jacket and sunglasses from third-party sellers if you're so inclined to really complete the classic look. But let's have a look at the comic that he comes with as well. The inclusion of a comic book gets the thumbs up from Superboy as well as myself. So as I said, this is basically just a reprint of effectively the 1990s comic that Superboy first appeared in, but gone are the 90s ads, replaced with McFarlane Toys ads, which makes sense. He wants to promote his own company. So yes, it's got the classic 90s style, very nostalgic, and yeah, it's just a good introduction to the character. And yes, a bit of more McFarlane Toys promo on the back, and also a DC Comics promo of their Absolute Superman, which is one of the titles on the Absolute Universe or Absolute line of figures that DC Comics have been publishing lately. And they've just announced Absolute Green Arrow as well, and these are flying off the shelves. So if you're interested in a new take on Superman, Batman and Wonder Woman and Flash and others, then the Absolute Universe line of comics from your nearest comic retailer is definitely the way to go. But yeah, this is a pretty, I mean, it's a wonderful gift. You get a comic, you get a figure. What more could you want? Also from Amazon, although I did see this exact set in Maya recently. This is Little People. So Little People have been pumping out a whole bunch of pop culture sets like this. There's like Stranger Things, Lord of the Rings, Office, all manner of things. If you can imagine, Little People have been pumping them out. So this is 4 different versions of Superman, same character, basically just in different costumes. And you flick it over, and it tells you who it is. So yes, the Golden Age, the recovery suit when he came back, all in his black suit and his long hair after he came back from death. Kingdom Come, which is a classic future set DC Comics series, and Superman Blue when he had electricity powers. The 90s was a wild time. So again, as I said, 90s is my favourite Superman and DC Comics era. So I love the artwork on the back as well. And there's Fortress of Solitude with his sculpture of his parents. Let's open these up and see how cute they are. Mattel, Fisher-Price always do a fabulous job with their packaging, so a bit of a closer look at these Little People. So here is the classic Golden Age Superman in those wonderful bright colours and the blue highlights in his hair. Next we have the recovery suit Superman, or black suit Superman, with all the silver in the places it should be. His mullet, his mean stare when he comes back to life after being killed by Doomsday. We've got the Kingdom Come Superman, the older Superman in the future DC universe, with that logo that has been used a lot in the movies, more simplified and stylized logo, and a cloth cape, surprisingly, which is awesome. And then finally we have the electric blue Superman, and he's actually translucent, sort of. So again, I love that S symbol, and yes, very cool, all blue. There we go. When he had electricity powers, the 90s, it was a wild time. So a lovely set, Superman Through the Ages from Mattel, Fisher-Price and Little People. I saw this pop up on my Amazon feed and I thought I must get this. So this is a colouring book. I think perhaps the only colouring book I own. And this is filled with art, all from the 1990s DC Comics, all focused on Superman and his assorted cast of characters, including his fellow Justice Leaguers like Flash and Wonder Woman. And yes, the 90s version of Superman is when I was really into comics, so I'm very happy to get this. So that's from the wedding album when Clark and Lois got married. Awesome artwork, including some character turnarounds. Some of my favourite artists there. Version of Kai Rayner, version of Green Lantern, which is the Green Lantern I grew up with. Aquaman with a hook hand, very 90s, and the long hair. Steel, or the classics. I just love looking at this. Some wonderful John Bogdanove art. It's one of my favourite Superman artists. The Superboy figure. We just looked at that artwork. And yes, some classic covers, including the Death and Return of Superman storyline. So and there's the one of the first early appearances of Doomsday on the cover there. So wonderful, fabulous art, a sort of character models and interior pages and comic covers. That's when Superman or Clark reveals his true identity to Lois, and it's got some pretty cool artwork in here for sure. So yes, it's a colouring book, but it also has like little text features saying a few cool things. So very happy to get this. Ultimate 90s flashback. Super retro colouring fun with the Gen X Guardian of Metropolis. Don't know if Superman's ever been called that, but there you go. Colouring book, 90s, Superman, love it. The Superman celebration, and I'm glad I saw the recent James Gunn film. It's probably my third favourite Superman film. Superman 1978 is still my favourite Superman and favourite film of all time. Followed closely, I guess, by the Superman 2 Richard Donner cut, but this is a pretty close third. And obviously, if you haven't seen the film, spoilers incoming, but I did enjoy it. It was good to see some life and joy and hope and colour in a Superman film after having a very dark and depressing kind of Superman. The acting and the casting were just on point. James Gunn, writer-director, obviously knows his comics very well, although it does have a tendency to become quite silly, which I didn't like Lex putting his ex-girlfriends in like a pocket dimension, typing monkeys being, on the internet, all this kind of stuff. Just a bit too silly. Filled with characters that some people may find confusing, like who's Metamorpho, who's Mr. Terrific, who's Hawkgirl. I love seeing, but nevertheless, hopefully it draws people into the comics. I loved seeing the Hall of Justice in live action, which was awesome. Crypto as well, just great. And yeah, I just love the earnestness of Clark, and his relationship with Lois is just lovely. But there was a few things that I perhaps didn't like, like in the final battle was very similar with Iron Man, where they go into space, and that's kind of the weakness. I did like that the soundtrack, the design of the credits, Luthor's land scheme again, and the Fortress of Solitude, all very much like the 1978 film. I didn't like the Kryptonian parents. Jor-El and Lara, how their message was evil. I was hoping that would be undone. I know James Gunn is trying to do something different, and evil Superman and evil Kryptonians have been touched on in the comics. Yeah, but I didn't really like that. And obviously the last 20 minutes is just like a CGI, spectacular, as always, this big, landmass or big, earthquakey kind of thing kind of coming towards Metropolis, which we've seen again. So there's a few new things, a few things that we've seen many times before, but I think this is a good start, hopefully, to a new DC universe, and I'm glad that a lot of people are excited about Superman again. All that to say, here's a bunch of Superman goodies. Very happy to get all this stuff. Thank you for watching all this way. Like, comment, subscribe if you feel led to do so, and I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye, geeks.